All right, we'll start now. Well, welcome to Introduction to Lua. I'm Cranium. I've been on the forums for a while now. See here. Yes, right now we're just going to go ahead and go over variables today. Let's see here. So, what is a variable? Well, variables pretty simple to define. A variable is any value that's assigned with a name that we can reference to
User
much
joined your
later.
channel.
So anytime that we want to just go ahead and call back to that either number, string, or anything like that, we can just do that later down in the code. Let's see here. We can use these several different ways. We can just store them, really. I guess this slide's pretty useless. So when we create a variable, we use the equals assignment. What that does is just like if you remember high school algebra or anything pretty simple, we assign a value like x equals such and such value, like 42 or cheese or whatever you want. When we use the equal sign, basically telling you, hey, I want this value and I want to assign it with this name. We've got several different types of variables. Let's see, the first one here, I believe we have set as strings, yes. Strings are very nice to use. They're the main thing that you're going to be using if you're using a print command. What it is just a whole long either sentence or a string of words that you're putting together. Doesn't matter what it is, but it's defined by anything within quotations. Now these can be either single quotations, double quotations. We can use double square brackets like these. I just typed that chat there. So anytime you do the double square bracket, that's going to give you a option to do a multi-line
User disconnected from your
string,
channel.
anything like that. So you can start off a string like hello, and you can end it up with on the next line just like that. So what that'll do is that'll automatically automatically create a next line, a line break at the end of the first line hello, and it'll print the next one at the next line. It's good to use when you're making GUIs. It's something that you really just want to keep in mind. It's not always going to be used, but it's something you just want to pay attention to. The next one is going to be with numbers. Numbers are pretty straightforward. They're any decimal value outside of quotations. So anytime we find that, it's going to be, we're probably going to be using math with numbers. So you're going to add them, subtract them, multiply. Use any one of our options within the Lua math library. The most common ones are just going to set a number, and then you're going to check if that number is a certain value later. The more advanced ones, you like the trilateration that we use with turtles using the GPS signals. That's going to use a lot of the math that you just might not get into until later. One of these examples, we do have a bunch of values assigned to us, such as pi. Pi, we can only go to a certain amount. I can't remember exactly how far it goes when you type in math.pi. But that is one value that's already assigned, that's built in. You don't have to code that. You don't have to do, you don't have to calculate pi yourself. You can just enter the command math.pi. Right, yeah, they hard code the instruction set. All right, the next variable is Booleans. Booleans are just a basic true-false statement. It's one or the other, can't really be anything else. If you want a function to return and tell you, yeah, I performed this function properly, you're going to just say return true. And that's going to basically tell you, hey, I did it right. So that one's pretty simple. The last one's really a special case. It's not really a variable because you can't change it, but it's something that you're definitely going to want to use in your codes. It's nil. Nil is pretty much the absence of any value. It's completely different from any value you can assign to it. It's used mostly for just zeroing out or just erasing the value of a variable so that you're not cluttering up your code with a bunch of variables that you might not be using for the long term. We can do several things with variables. It's mostly just manipulating them in different ways. The basic ones are we can do coercion. Coercion is just the act of switching them back and forth between different variable types, like from a string to a number. So if you use 42 in a string just like that, if you coerce that with the toNumber command, just like that, which the toNumber command is built in, what that'll return is just regular 42, just like that. And the same thing goes for the toString function. If you do toString 42, typing is terrible. What that's going to do is it's going to give you a result of 42 within quotations. It's going to turn it to a string. Now we can also do that when we're comparing. So if we do if 42 equals 42, then that will actually perform a successful comparison. Because if it can be converted directly over to a number using the, yeah, I bet PHP is nicer. It's a little more powerful when it does that, because you got to deal with a lot of different things. Right. You can't do toNumber 12 plus 15. That's actually a good example because that whole equation is within a string. Now you can do, I believe, toNumber 12 plus toNumber 15. That will form a successful addition. See here. Now, when we coerce things using the comparison, we can only compare like values. So these cannot be compared to 42. So those will never ever work because one is a string that cannot be changed to a number, and it'll actually give you the attempt to compare string and number.
User joined your channel.
Well, make one, human. Make a do math function. I'm pretty sure you'll just be using load string. Yeah. All right. So next thing we can do with variables, we can concatenate them. Concatenation is just the action of stitching two variables together and stitching their values together. This is done when we put two periods or two dots between those values. You put spaces in between. Lua doesn't really care about spaces. Yeah, just like that, minor. So when you do, say for example, 42 dot dot keys. That'll return 42 keys. It's pretty simple. Now, one thing that you're going to get into trouble with is if you've got a value that is nil. If your variable is nil, you can't really concatenate it with anything. You can't stitch nothing to something else. So this is a big thing that you want to pay attention to in your code. If you ever get a attempt to concatenate string and nil or number and nil or something like that, you're going to want to look way back in your code and see how you defined that variable. Yeah, nil is very evil. We hate those nil errors, whether it will be with tables, functions, strings, booleans, anything. We hate getting those nil errors because it is a pain to go back and find out where you did not define that variable. NAN, I did not see any documentation of with Lua, so I don't really have anything to say about that. I've never had any experience with that. And tables, the way I'm going to teach that is I'm going to teach that separately. Tables are more of an array of different variables, so that's probably going to be better to teach on a separate lesson. Let's see here. My last one. Oh no, that was my last slide. That's pretty much all you can do. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll be available on the forums pretty much all of the time. I'll be on the server quite often as well. So, yeah, this is just back to basics, Miner. We are doing everything that we can from the very, very, very beginning. So, that's it.